We are designing a special collection. We are prepping for Vintage Market Days in Charleston. We're just doing a little bit of everything in this video today. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around. I have my first big market of the season coming up, Vintage Market Days of Charleston, and I wanted to do something really special for it. So I'm creating a limited edition Charleston collection inspired by garden party florals and coastal plaids. Hi there. If you're new here, I'm Jody, the maker behind Maison Camellia, a small batch textile studio located in South Carolina. And today I am bringing you along as I create this special collection. I'll show you the fabrics I choose and the pieces I'm planning to make, and then we will build the entire collection together. So when I think of Charleston, I think of the beautiful formal gardens and garden parties and the architecture. So I wanted to choose fabrics for this collection that reflect that. And one of the first fabrics that I fell in love with is this beautiful floral print, and this is the colorway that I am calling Charleston Garden Party. And doesn't this just scream Charleston Garden Party? And if you've already watched a few of my videos, you guys know that I love to use a fabric on the inside that is just as much of a delight as the fabric on the outside. So for the interior of these, I have chosen this sweet green gingham. So this just looks to me like a Charleston garden party, right? And then another thing that I think of when I think of Charleston is the architecture. And Charleston is known for a colorful street called Rainbow Row, where it has all of these old buildings and all of these bright, colorful paint colors. And so when I saw this plaid, not only did it remind me of Charleston Rainbow Row, but it also reminded me of the coast and just walks along the coast, that coastal preppy vibe that Charleston is also known for. And so of course I also had to pick a fun, delightful print for the inside of it as well. So I am using this lavender polka dot fabric on the inside, and I just love the juxtaposition of the polka dots and the plaid. So let's explore what I am making out of these. Let me grab my list. All right, so for the Charleston Garden Party combo, I really want the print to be the star. So I'm not planning to add a ruffle to these. I really want the print and the quilting to be the star of the show. So for this particular combo, I'm going to be making 6 boxy bags and 35 of my mini pouches. And then I want to have a mix of both my classic straps as well as some ruffle straps. So I am going to add some ruffles on the straps to go along with these, but for the main pouches, like I said, I want the print and the quilting to be the stars. And I have a special quilting stitch that I'm going to do on these, so I can't wait to share that with you. I'm really excited about it. And I also wanted these to be extra puffy, so I have a really luxurious batting that I purchased to go along with both of these colorways. So they're just going to have this really squishy, luxurious quilted feel to them. And then for the Rainbow Row colorway, I did want to have some fun with the ruffles on these, because I just think ruffles combined with this plaid is going to be super sweet. I just love the juxtaposition of the kind of like masculine plaid with the ruffles. I just think that that is such a fun combo. So with these, and because I'm adding the ruffles, I can't make quite as many, but I am still planning to do 6 boxy bags. And for the boxy bags, instead of putting the ruffle across the front like I did with my core boxy bag line, I am going to do the ruffle along the side of the zipper, and I'm so excited to do that. And also with these, because I want the plaid really to be the star of the show, I'm not going to do any quilted stitches on these, so they'll be nice and puffy, and the plaid will be the star, and then I'll have the ruffles along the zipper that will add that feminine touch to this fabric. And then Also, I am creating a special pouch for this colorway that is going to have a ruffle set into the seam. So I can't wait to see how that turns out, because I really do feel like the juxtaposition of the plaid and the ruffles is just going to be mwah, chef's kiss. I can't wait to see it. And then I am creating some ruffle straps to go along with this as well. So that's what I'm planning to make. I already have pre-washed these fabrics, and a few of you have reached out and asked why I pre-wash my fabrics before I use them. And it's, number one, it just gives the finished pieces this softer touch. The fabric just feels already kind of like broken in and loved from the get-go, and it just feels really soft. And also I want everything I make not only to be beautiful but to be practical. So I want it to be washable, so I just get the pre-washing and get the fabric pre-shrunk, so my customers don't have to worry about that if they need to wash one of my pieces. So those are the fabric selections. So the next step is just to start getting these pieces cut out, and yeah, let's get going. All right, so I know I'm getting kind of cut off here, but I wanted you guys to be able to see what I am working on. So I am prepping some of the patterns that I need to make some changes to. So for the garden party floral, this is a directional fabric because all of the blades of grass are pointing in one direction. So I needed to modify my boxy bag pattern so that it has a seam on the bottom, so that I can make sure that the direction of the floral print is facing in the right direction on both sides of the bag. So I have already done that, so that is my pattern for that. And then for the pouches, I don't need to worry about it because they don't have a bottom. It's not one piece of fabric, it's a separate piece of fabric for both sides, so the fabric will naturally go in the right direction. And now for the Rainbow Row little ruffle pouch, I want it to be slightly larger than my mini pouch, but I don't want it to be as big as my medium pouch. So I have decided I want it to be about this wide, and now I just need to decide how tall I want it. And I think I want it about this tall. I don't know how tall that is, so I'm going to measure and see how tall this is. But yeah, I'm thinking that that is about the height that I want it to be. So that is approximately, let's say 5 inches, and I want that to be, I guess my question is, do I want that to be the finished height or a little bit shorter? And I think maybe just a little bit shorter. So I'm going to include the inseam in that, which is the part that I will stitch together. So I'm just going to then cut this at 5 inches for the height. All right, so it will be, I really need to change the blade on that. It's not even cutting through paper. My rotary cutter. All right, so now the next thing I need to do is I want it to have a curved bottom, and I also want it to have a inset ruffle in the seam. So I am going to use, I've kind of already like tested out what size I want it to be, and I think I want the curve to be about the size of this roll of cording. So I am going to just trace around, I'm going to trace around the edge of that on both bottom corners, and then I will cut that part off. Okay, and so I just need to cut that rounded corner off. And then we'll just take one more look at it and make sure that that Yeah, I think I like that. I don't want it to be super rounded because of the plaid. I don't know. I still want the plaid to have lots of surface area. At least in my mind, I don't want too much of the grid of the plaid getting cut off by a curve. So I like the way this is looking. So now I just need to make my pattern piece for the ruffle that's going to go around the edge of this. So let me grab my measuring tape. All right, so I've got my measuring tape, and let me find the center of this. So the center is at about, let's just say 8 inches. So I need all the way around is approximately 16 inches, and I like to do a ruffle that is double the width, so essentially 30, is that right? 16 times 2? No, 32. So I need ruffles that are about 32 inches long. So now that I have my pattern pieces, I also am going to need ruffles. Let me go ahead and figure this out too, because I'm going to need ruffles for the Rainbow Row boxy bag, and I am planning to put a ruffle on either side of the zipper. So this is, let's see, this is approximately 12 inches, so I need 24. So let me just make a note of that. I'm going to note that on this pattern piece. So 24-inch ruffle. And then this needs a 32-inch ruffle. And all right, so I am going to start cutting these out. So I have all of my pieces that need to be quilted here. So, and this is the batting that I'm using, and it is so fluffy and squishy. I think it's going to look really, really good. And I quilted a sample using a swatch of fabric from my core collection. And so remember I said I wanted to do a special quilt stitch for these bags, and so this is the stitch that I'm going to be doing, which is a row of 3 stitches spaced about 1/4 of an inch apart, and then 1 3/4 inches spacing between that. And I just think it looks really, really great. I love that you still get the effect of it being quilted, but I think it's really going to allow this, what am I calling, Charleston Garden Party fabric, going to allow the floral and the flowers on it to shine. So I think it's going to complement this fabric really well because it looks awesome on this fabric, and I especially think it's going to look cute on pouches and the boxy bag. And yeah, so that is the next step, is just to apply this quilting stitch to all of these layers. And so I'm going to record as much of that as I can for you guys, and then the next step after quilting will be to just get the pieces actually cut out and start putting them together, which is going to be so fun. right, so I'm gonna call it a day, but what I got done today is I got all of the fabric quilted for the Charleston garden party. I love this quilt pattern. It allows the flowers still to shine, and I'm trying to angle it away where you can just see how soft and puffy it is. So I am going to stop work on these today, and then tomorrow I am going to cut out the bags, cut out the pouches, and start putting them together. Good morning. So this is day 3 of me working on the Charleston collection, and I didn't bring you guys along yesterday because I was mainly just cutting things out and doing a lot of ironing. So I got all of my straps ironed, and then I also got all of the tabs that I use for the zippers and for the D-rings. I got all of that cut out. I got all of the mini pouches cut out for the garden party colorway. And then I got the larger pouches for the Rainbow Row colorway cut out. And I got all of the ruffles, which are not currently out on the table. I have to, at the end of working every day, this is just a side note, I have a kitty cat, Coraline, who likes to come into my studio, and she is obsessed with threads. So when I finish sewing each day, I have to put anything that has strings or of thread that are sticking out of it or exposed, I have to make sure it's put away. I have to make sure there's no thread on the floor. I even have to remove all the thread from my sewing machine and put that away, because she will actually get it and pull it out of the sewing machine. So those are still kind of up on the shelf. But I got all of the ruffles basted and ironed and ready to ruffle. And then I also got the labels sewn onto the Rainbow Row boxy bags. And if you remember, I'm not quilting those, and look how fluffy this is. I am loving this batting, which was recommended by, I'm sorry I don't know her name, but over at Ginger Patch Designs, she highly recommended this batting for its structure and loft. And so thank you for the recommendation. I love it. It is so lofty. So I got the labels sewn on to those, and then I also, of course, got everything cut out, and I got these stitched together. So this particular fabric print, the design has one direction. You can see all the blades of grass point in one direction, so it's not a ditzy print. Technically, a ditzy print is considered ditzy when there's no direction. It's a floral that you can use in any direction, but this is a directional print, so I had to seam the bottom of them so that when I put the bags together, all of the grass, it's not really grass, what is it? The stems and the leaves of the flowers will be pointing in the right direction. And I also put a top stitch on that, and I think it turned out really nice because it echoes the stitching that I did on these, which look how gorgeous it is. I think these are just going to look so beautiful when they are put together. So what I am going to do right now is I am going to go ahead and sew the labels on to these. And I'm also going to sew the labels onto the pouches. And then I'm going to wait until I put the zippers into these before I put the labels on. But I want to go ahead and sew the label onto these because I'm not sewing the label through the batting. I really want the Rainbow Row pieces to stay really nice and like fluffy, like a cloud. So I am stitching the label onto just the fabric and not through the batting, because if I sewed it through the batting, it would kind of have like an indent where I stitch it. And like I said, I just want these to feel really lofty and fluffy and luxurious. Whereas these, the stitching really is part of the design. So I will be stitching the label onto all the way through the batting. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and I will bring you guys along with me as I sew those on, and then after that we will move on to the zippers, which I'm really excited to dive into because I'm not exactly sure. I have a couple different zipper pull options, so we will explore that together next. All right, so now I'm ready to cut the zippers, but before I even do that, I want to determine which zipper pull that I'm going to use for each one, and I have a couple different options. I have my little floral zipper pull, which echoes the camellia, but I mean, it echoes any flower really. And then I also have just my simple ring style zipper pull, which looks like that. So just a very simple minimal style, which I like. So what I was thinking of doing is for the garden party, I was thinking of using the flower pulls on that because I just think that is really, really cute. It echoes the floral theme. And then for the rainbow row, I was thinking that I would keep it simpler and use the ring pull for that one. But what I'm not sure about is for the boxy bags, if I want to still do, I typically do 2 pulls for my boxy bags and have them meet in the center. And so it would be something like this. If I put those beside each other, you have the 2 rings, but then I'm also going to have a ruffle detail on these. So I'm kind of thinking that for these, instead of doing double rings like that, and because it's going to have the ruffle along the zipper, I think I'm not going to do double pulls. I think I'm just going to do a single zipper pull and let the ruffle be the star of this particular colorway. And then for the garden party colorway, I didn't want to interrupt the quilting pattern on this one. I really did want the quilting and the florals to be the star of the show, so I didn't do my typical ruffle on here. But now I'm wondering if I still want to do the double pulls that meet in the center of these, and I think I do. So I'm going to kind of switch it up. So for this one, I'm still going to do my double pulls that meet in the center for this design, and then for the rainbow row plaid, I will just have a single pull that is on the side. Yep, I'm happy with that. All right, so now that I've made those decisions, I just need to get all of my zipper tape prepped. So I will get these cut out and get the tabs put on, and I will bring you guys along for that process as well. Alright, so now I have all of the ruffles that are going to be going around the edge of these bags. So I'm going to get these gathered, and let's see, I was just thinking if there's anything else I need to do before I can start putting these together. I do still need to put the D-rings on these small pouches and the D-rings on the boxy bags, but I'm really excited to see how this bag comes together. So I might complete this bag before moving on to the others, just because, like I said, I'm really excited to see how it comes together. I've been wanting to do a bag for a while now that has a ruffle set in the seam. So yeah, I am really excited to see how this turns out. And I think it's going to be so cute. I love the plaid, and I love the plaid with the polka dots. So I think these little bags are going to be super sweet. And I wasn't sure, I went back and forth whether or not to even put a D-ring on these because of the ruffle, but I did go ahead and decide to add the D-ring, and the D-ring will be at the back of the bag. I mean, it'll be behind the ruffle, and if that doesn't make sense, it'll make sense when I finish it. Once it's put together, I'll show you that. But because I am making the straps, so I don't even know why I was questioning whether or not it needed a D-ring, because I'm making the accent straps to go with it. But yeah, I wasn't sure how to do that with the ruffle, but I think putting the D-ring behind the ruffle is the right choice. That way you still see the ruffle and you still have the function of the D-ring. It's just kind of tucked in behind the ruffle. So if you saw my ruffled boxy bag video, you will see that that's when I kind of figured out this method of making the ruffles like this on my cutting board. Although these ruffles are quite longer, but I still think this is going to work out quite well. And for a moment there, I wasn't sure I was gathering it from the right end. There's always an end when you're doing ruffles, depending on the threads that you're holding, that gather nice and easy. And then also, the longer the ruffle, the more careful you have to be somewhat with gathering, because you don't want the thread to break. But because I'm using a double basted stitch along the edge, that does help. So this is looking so cute. I just love the ruffled plaid, and I think it's going to be a nice touch on these bags, and I cannot wait to see how the ruffle looks on the boxy bags next to the zipper. And I debated whether to do a larger scale ruffle for these, but I opted to still keep with my more narrow 3/4 of an inch ruffle is what the finished ruffle ends up being, because I just think it looks a bit, when you use a larger ruffle, in my opinion, it can end up looking juvenile, or it can end up looking like too much embellishment, if that makes any sense. And so I think just keeping it a smaller scale makes it feel a little bit more grown up and elevated, and also makes it feel more like a design feature and part of the structure of the bag versus being, like I said, just embellishment on it. At least that's my take on it anyway. And as I mentioned in my other video where I ruffled, I always like to make the ruffle a little bit shorter than what it actually needs to be, so that I can kind of maneuver it into the length that it needs to be. And I think I'm going to gather it just slightly smaller. This is probably short enough, but I'm going to gather it to about that length right there, and I'm just going to leave that one there for reference for the next one. Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on, and once I get them all gathered, I will take you guys along as I pin them and get them sewn into these bags. So we will do that next. Alright, so now that I have all of my ruffles prepped and ready, what I am going to be doing next, and I went ahead and tested it out on one of these, but I am essentially just now clipping the ruffle all around the bottom edge of the front of the bag, and I'm just going to leave it clipped like this until I put the bag together. And I could technically go around and do a top stitch on this prior to putting the bag together. Should I go ahead and do that? I'm questioning if I should go ahead and do that, just to make sure that I really want to make sure I get the batting in there. But I don't think I need to. I think as long as I make sure it is clipped, which I just did, I think I just need to turn it over and make sure that it is clipped. I can also go ahead and trim off all of this excess, at least a little bit of it, so it's not so long. But yeah, that's what the ruffles are looking like. I know it's hard to tell at this stage, but they are looking, these bags are just looking so cute. So that's what I'm going to do to the other 8 of these, and then I think I am going to take a break and have some lunch. So I'm just going to film this process, and then my cat is scratching on her food container. I will give her a snack here in just a moment, but yeah, I'm going to finish pinning these on, take a break and get some lunch, and I will see you guys after. And good morning. So it is the 4th day of working on this collection, and I think I'm making good progress. This is technically really just the 3rd day, because the first 2 days I didn't get started until after 1. So yesterday was my first, I would say, full day of working on these. So regardless, I feel like I'm making good progress, but I really do want to get all of these finished up today so I can show you the finished product. So what I am working on right now is I have all of the garden party pouches prepped with the zippers. And before I wrapped up yesterday, I started adding the top stitch. So that is what I am finishing up this morning. I'm going to do the top stitch, and then once I do the top stitch, I will be sewing these together, which will just be, I'll be opening them up like this and stitching around and leaving a little gap and turning them. So that is really the final step for these, and they will be together. Oh, before I do that, I need to put the labels on. So I will be adding my label on here before I stitch them together. Also, I got all of the zippers put into the Rainbow Row Ruffle pouches, and I sewed one together yesterday afternoon, and oh my gosh, it's so cute. I really want to show it to you right now, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off and save it for the reveal, but it is exactly how I envisioned it. It's so super cute, and I can't wait to show you how it turned out. But beyond that, I have 12 boxy bags. I have the 6 Garden Party boxy bags, and then I have 6 of the Rainbow Row boxy bags, and they have the labels on, but I still need to do the zippers, and the Rainbow Row ones get a ruffle on them. So it's still a lot to do today, and then I also have all of the straps that I cut out, but I really want to get these wrapped up today because it's Friday, and then I am going to work this weekend. I have about 50 items of my core collection that need replenishing. I may or may not have mentioned that already, because this coming week I leave for Charleston for Vintage Market Days on Thursday, so I still have several days, but if you saw my market prep video, I really don't want Tuesday and Wednesday of this coming week to be absolutely nuts like it was for that market. So I am going to get busy and process it. So of course I will bring you along for each one of these steps today, and it's an overcast day, and I'm kind of hoping it stays this way so that I can keep all of my shades pulled up in the office here. So we will see. It's always, I never know when the sun's going to come out, and I have to shut most of the shades in here. But right now it's nice and overcast, and it really does make for the nicest light inside of my office here for recording. So I'm going to get busy finishing up the top stitching, and then I will be sewing the labels on these. I'll probably pick back up with you guys when I am at the zipper step of these, because if I can get the zippers in the 12 boxy bags prepped, then I can just sit down and stitch everything together. So that is kind of the order that I am thinking that I will work on these today. So yeah, I'm just going to get busy top stitching. All right. Alright, so that step of doing the top stitching really didn't take long at all. So all of the 30 mini Charleston Garden Party pouches have now been top stitched, and I have made I've made this simple little paper template that I am going to use to line up where the label goes on all of these. So I'm going to get the label stitched on, and then we will start putting the zippers on the boxy bags. And if I continue on at this rate, I think we will definitely have these finished in no time today, and I can show you what they turn out like. I'm so excited. All right, so let's get the labels stitched on these mini pouches. All right, now I have all the labels sewn on. So next I am moving on to all of the ruffles for the Rainbow Row boxy bags. So I'm going to get these ruffles gathered, and I think I'm going to go ahead and stitch them down onto the bags before I sew them, because I didn't do any quilting on this. I don't want the fabric to slide around too much on top of the batting. So I will get these ruffled and stitched on, and then I will be ready to start putting these together finally, and I can't wait to see how they turn out. So far, I just think that they are looking super cute, but most importantly, I think they are looking so Charleston, and I can't wait to see what you guys think and see if you agree, especially the Rainbow Row. I was looking up some pictures of Rainbow Row in Charleston last night, and the colors of this fabric, you guys, I feel is just spot on, as well as the aesthetic with the structure of the plaid against the romantic ruffles. I just think is such a sweet combination. So let me know in the comments if you agree, and if you've been to Charleston Rainbow Row, let me know if you think that I've captured the vibe with this plaid. So yeah, I'm just gonna get these ruffled and then get them stitched on, and we will start putting these pieces together. All right, so all of my boxy bag zippers are cut, and I got all of the ruffles sewn onto the Rainbow Row boxy bags. So I am going to get these zippers sewn into the boxy bags. There are 12 total. And once I get the zippers sewn in, it's just a matter of sewing all of these together. And I'll probably just set up my camera while I put all of the bags together. And it's currently around 12:30, so I'm going to get these zippers sewn in. I'm going to take a lunch break and then get all of the bags stitched together, and that's probably going to take me a good bit of the afternoon. And then I have, let's see, I'm not sure how many straps I have, but these are all the straps that I have to put together. So I'm planning to save these for last, but my goal is still to get all of this completed so I can reveal the collection later today. So yeah, I'm going to get these stitches sewn in because I'm starting to get hungry, ready for some lunch, but I'm going to get these zippers in first. Alright, so it is the following day and I am still putting these bags together, believe it or not. So what I am discovering is by making the decision not to quilt the fabric on the rainbow row pieces, at least for the boxy bags, it is making it really, really difficult and time consuming to put them together. Also, what I am discovering is so I use a method of sewing these together called the zipper gap method, where you leave a space between the liner and the zipper, and that's where I turn the bag through, and usually that works out pretty well. But having the ruffle, I am learning on either side of the zipper, and trying to do the zipper gap method is making it really difficult, and I literally had to take like 2 of these bags apart yesterday, and that's why I'm still working on them today. Now they are turning out super, super cute. I cannot wait to show you how they are turning out, but putting them together is kind of a nightmare. I'm not going to say I'm never going to do this style again where I do not quilt it, but I don't know that I would use this particular batting. It just shifts around a lot and it's kind of slidey, so that is making it a little more difficult to put these together. So for all of the corners, because the fabric is not quilted on there, I'm just having to make sure that it is playing nicely and that the fabric is where it needs to be. So I'm having to make sure that is smooth and put a clip on there. And then I'm also having to hand baste the liner down next to the zipper prior to closing the bag up because of all the bulk that the ruffle is creating next to the zipper. So this is definitely turning out to be a time-intensive design. I mean, I knew it was going to take a little bit longer anyway because of the ruffle, and just whenever you add, just even adding the ruffles to the design makes it a lot more time consuming, but also not quilting it and then putting the ruffle next to the zipper. Oops, and I'm just throwing my clips on the floor, is a lot of extra time. But like I said, they're turning out so super cute. If I do this particular style again with the ruffle, I definitely will not do the zipper gap. I will seam the bottom of the liner. Also, something that I'm doing that I don't do on my other bags because this batting is so extra poofy is I'm trimming off, I don't know if I can put this where you can see, I'll do this one example. I'm trimming off some of that extra batting from the side seam so that the seam isn't so bulky. So yeah, just lots of extra steps, and so I didn't get all of these put together yesterday. I have one more of these to put together after this one, and then the other boxy bags will go together a lot quicker because they are quilted and there's no ruffle on there, so those will go together much quicker. But it's already pretty late in the day. It's a Saturday. I don't typically sew on Saturdays, but this show in Charleston is coming up the end of this coming week, so I have got to get these completed for that. And there's also a few products that I need to make from my core product line that I need to make more of before the show. And I am using a pairing of fabrics from Hobby Lobby for that particular colorway. And there's no Hobby Lobby in the town where I live, but I have quite a selection of ones that are from 35 to 45, well, not 45, from 35 to an hour away, but they're all kind of in different directions. So I chose one of those to hit up this morning, thinking that might be the one that was most likely to have the fabrics in stock. And they only had one of them, and then of course I didn't want to drive all over to all the other ones because that literally would have taken me all day. So I had them call around to see if there were any other Hobby Lobbies that did have it in stock, and there was only one out of all the options, and they didn't quite have the yardage that I need. So I still headed over there and I bought what they had left. So I'm just going to have to look through the products I was going to make and decide which ones are most important for this show, because I'm not able to make all of them that I had planned. So that's kind of a bummer. And in the future, I don't want to be in that situation where I run out of fabrics, but because I've only done 2 markets so far, I wasn't sure which colorway would be the one that sells the best, so it's made it a little bit difficult to restock. So I just need to now turn this and seal it up, but I'm not going to do that yet because I really don't want you guys to see these until the reveal at the end. So I am just going to continue putting these together. Like I said, I have one more of these that's really time consuming to put together. Then I have 6 of the garden party variation, and I have not even gotten to my pouches and to the straps yet. So, and it's already almost 4 today. So, and I had wanted to finish these up yesterday. So yeah, I definitely need to get this collection finished by the end of the weekend, because I'm going to have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to work, and then on Thursday, I will need to be making my way to Charleston for the show. And I don't want to be kind of up to the wire like I was with my first show, and it was better my second show, but I had a lot of inventory I was creating, so I still kind of worked up to the wire with that one. So we will see. That might just be something that you guys hear me say a lot. But it still ends up happening. That does tend to be part of my personality. I like to take on more than I can chew. All right, so just trimming some of that extra batting off, and I'm not trimming the extra zipper off. Having a little bit of zipper sticking down actually helps provide some additional structure to the sides of the boxy bags, so I tend to leave that there. And let's see, just making sure this is all clipped together, and I'm going to leave that clip there for now. And I'm so happy this is the last one. I really like the look of this batting, but it is a little bit more difficult to sew with. And like I said, I don't know her name. I need to find out her name. over at Ginger Patch Design. She had recommended this batting and she really liked the way it looked in the finished product, and I agree. I just love how it feels. I love the weight and the puffiness of it, but it's definitely not so fun to sew with. And also the fibers tend to be really loose and really fly around. I don't know. I actually have worn, when I was cutting it, I put a mask on so I wouldn't be breathing in all the little fibers. Now, of course, once the bag is put together, that's not an issue. It's really during the cutting and the edges being exposed that it is, like, tends to want to fly around a little bit. And so what I'm doing is just going in there and unzipping it, and then there's also a couple of pins that I put in there to put the D-ring on the inside. And the zipper doesn't technically need to be open for this particular method, but I don't know. I like it being open. It makes it easier to flip and turn the bag, I find. So yeah, the first couple of these that I had prepped like this to sew together, I did not realize that because I did not quilt it, and so the batting is not attached to the fabric, I didn't realize that I had accidentally turned it so that the batting was lined up with the liner instead of the exterior fabric. And thankfully I only sewed one of them together, but when I sewed it together and I went to try and turn it, there was no opening to turn it. So it was like, it took me a moment to figure out what was going on. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And that's when I realized that the batting was with the liner fabric instead of the exterior fabric. And so I double checked the ones that I had prepped, and sure enough, I had more than one that I had prepped that way. So another fun experience of not quilting the batting to the fabric. Okay, I do all that pinning and then take it off. Oh, it's very helpful. Another thing, if I were to do these again, I would probably do, like I said, I would put a seam in the bottom, but I could do the bias tape method where you sew on bias tape to the corners, and that could be really cute with this type of design. So different options there. And for those of you who don't sew, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but there's a few different ways that you can make these boxy bags. But I did get the I got most of the fabric. There was short a few yards, so I'm not going to be able to make everything that I wanted to make, but I will be able to make some, which is probably a good thing. Considering how much time I have between now and that market, I was probably planning to make too much anyway. But I got that fabric pre-washed, and I always do a light ironing so I pre-wash it in cold water or tap. My washer has a setting for, it's called tap cold, which I guess is not like fully cold water. And then I do just a light ironing so that I'm able to roll it back onto the bolt without it being too wrinkled. So I got that done, and it's all on the bolts and ready for me to use, which I was planning to start working on those pieces tomorrow, but I have a feeling I'm still going to be finishing up these pieces tomorrow, so it will probably be Monday before I get to those, and I'm probably not going to bring you guys along for that. There's another project that I'm doing prior to the market that I may bring you guys along with instead. And I may change my mind and film some of my prepping for the market. I'm not sure. Or I might do some filming and not do a separate video, but include it in the market video. Okay, so I think that was just the first two. Yep, so I still got the other two here to do. And I just ordered some little wooden name card stands. I'm planning to use those for pricing inside my booth. Been playing around with different methods because I don't want to have a price on each individual item. In my first market, I had two price signs that had like all of my products listed on them, and I feel like those were kind of hard to read and was difficult for people to take in. And I also had like different product names on there that I think was making it more confusing. So for my second market, I still did some standing price signs like that, but I didn't list everything on there. And then I also made some little individual price tags that I put on my displays, and those actually worked really good. I printed them out on cardstock, but I ended up sticking them on with a really thick double-sided tape that had plastic on either side that you had to remove, and that took forever. Those took forever. I think I was still putting pricing on stuff at like 11 a.m. and the market started at 10 because it just was really time consuming to peel the plastic off of those. So I have ordered some little stands, and so I can make my price cards and that they'll be reusable, and then I don't have to mess with that tape. I can just slide the little price card in the stand. So I'm hoping those are going to work. I know for the for Vintage Market Days that they're going to work really well because it's indoors and there's no wind to contend with. But for outdoor markets, we'll see, because they have the wood base. They might stand on their own without me having to stick them down, but we will see. So the corners is really what takes so long with this particular bag, and especially, like I said, with this batting, because it's not attached to the outer fabric. I just really have to get my finger in there and make sure that the fabric is where it needs to be, so that when I box that corner, it's nice and clean and not bunched up. Okay. This is the last one. I am so happy. Oh my gosh, this is the cutest bag, but sewing it together has been a lot. Sewing it together has really tested my sewing nerves just a little bit. And another thing that you're probably noticing, even I don't have the walking foot. That's what's going on. I usually have the walking foot down. Oh well, I made it through, but even with the walking foot, I was still finding that it didn't want to glide really nicely under the foot. Okay, so I'm just going to do, I will do a little check of this one, and then I will probably just put the camera on and take you guys along as I put the other pieces together, and then I will show you the finished product at the end. And I'm kind of hiding this from you guys. I just want to check the corners and make sure everything looks good and I got them all, and it looks like it did. And I'm just going to do that on this other one over here really quick, and then yeah, I'm looking forward to putting those together. It'll be so much quicker. But yeah, I just want to make sure I got all of the corners here and that I didn't bunch any up. And they are looking good. Oh no, they're not. So I'm glad I checked. So there's a whole, I'm not going to show you the whole bag, but there's like a whole section that I missed. So what I'm going to have to do is turn it back inside out and catch that side. Let's see, make sure I know which one I'm catching. It's right there. Okay, so thankfully it's the one right next to that opening right there. Okay, so it is this one. Is that it? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I just need to just need to sew in a little bit further right there, and I can see where I kind of curved a little bit, so I'm just going to put some pins there where I need to grab it. Oh my god, all my pins are going to end up on the floor. I keep throwing them on the floor. Let's see, and up there that looks good. So what I need to do, I'm going to sew it from this other side, is just sew it at a slight oh yeah, I sewed really, I can see from this side that it was really wonky right there. Okay, this batting, this slippy batting. Okay, let's see if I got it that time. I feel like I did. I feel like I got it that time, but let's just check. Okay, must have been, was it the other side? Or either I got it, and that's a good thing I can't find it because that means I got it. Yep, okay, it looks like, yep, I got it. Okay. All right, you guys, so yeah, I'm just gonna continue working on these, and I will show you guys how everything turns out. And I'm looking at these bags right now, and they're so super cute, so I cannot wait to share. All right, so let's get these finished up. All right, so are you ready for the reveal? I am so excited to share how these turned out. I think they all turned out so super cute. So I ended up with 6 total of the garden party boxy bags, and I decided to go with the gingham for the tabs on the side, as well as the interior has the gingham. So to me, this just says Charleston garden party, or really garden party anywhere, but I just think it's so indicative of Charleston, and I hope that it does well at my show. But I love how these turned out, and what I like about this fabric is that some areas the flowers are a little bit denser, and then some areas there's a little bit more space between them. So you can see these two side by side, and I love how each one of them has a separate personality. So I think anyone who is interested in picking up one of these at the market will have a fun time choosing which one of the, I think anyone who picks up one of these at the market will have a fun time choosing which one of these they like. But these are just so cute, and I think that using my floral zipper pulls was definitely the right choice on these. And then also, so I ended up with 6 of the boxy bags. Also, the quilting that I decided to go with, I decided to do 1 3/4 of an inch, and then there's 3 stitches that are really close together, and then another 1 3/4 between that, and then another row of 3 stitches. And I just think it makes it still gives it that quilted puff, but then it also allows the flowers to shine. And then the same across the bottom, I top stitched it, so it ends up looking like 3 stitches. So I just think together the 3 stitches that I did with the quilting and the way that I did the seam at the bottom just works really well together. So those are the boxy bags. And then I ended up with 30 mini pouches, and these are also, I love how these turned out, and I love how some of them, each one of them is just a little bit different. You can see how this one has a lot of space around the flowers, and then this one has more of like a patch of, it looks like tulips. So each one of them is just a little bit different. So I think that that once again is going to be a lot of fun for people to choose which part of the garden is highlighted on the pouch that they select. So I ended up with 30 of these, and then I did a few different strap options for this one. So I did, let's see, how many do I have? I have 5 of my ruffle straps that are all in the floral fabric, and just let me show you how cute these look when paired with the bag. Isn't that just so cute? I just think it's so adorable. I think it turned out so cute. Like, who doesn't want to show up at a garden party or just any summer or spring party with one of these on their wrist? I just think it's so sweet. Actually, I probably would want the ruffle down on my wrist. I don't know. But I just think it's so cute. And then I also did one, I don't know why I only did one, but this is definitely a more of a style decision here. So I did one that has the gingham strap with the floral, and it still is really cute. You can see how the gingham on the D-ring tab continues onto the strap, so that is also really cute. And then I just did a single gingham strap. So if I would have had more time, I probably would have made more of these, and I'll show you what that one looks like as well. And I don't have any more of this fabric, and I don't plan to do any more, but technically I could make a few more of these straps because I do plan to list this collection on my website. So by the time this video goes live, anything remaining from the Charleston collection will be available on my website. But these have the gingham on the inside, and I just think they're so super cute. I want one of everything. So we'll see how these sell. I might have to keep one for myself after the show. And then I also did, let's see, I have 7 of the classic straps in the floral. So if someone doesn't want the ruffle but still wants a strap, they can select that as well. And then on to Rainbow Row. So as you guys know, I decided to not do any quilting on these because I wanted them to just be really fluffy, and I wanted the ruffle to really be kind of like the focal point on these, and I think they turned out so super cute, you guys. They're like, I love how like soft and fluffy they are, and I just love the juxtaposition of the feminine ruffle and the more structured masculine plaid. I mean, that is Rainbow Row, right? The architecture and the pastel colors. And then these have that sweet lavender polka dot fabric on the inside. So these were such a pain. They were such a nightmare to sew, but oh my gosh, what so worth it, because look how cute they turned out. And I decided not to do the floral pulls on these. I wanted just something more simple, so I just did a single ring pull on these so that the ruffle is the star of the show. So I also have 6 of these boxy bags, and because the ruffles take so much more fabric than the garden party, I wasn't able to make as many pouches. But you guys, I have been wanting to make one of these pouches, so I decided to make a special ruffle pouch for the Rainbow Row collection, and isn't it so stinking cute? I just think it's so adorable, and it's got that purple polka dot fabric inside, and it's just the perfect size for a party or a special event, something that you only need to have your essentials in here. Like you could have your lipstick or your chapstick and your cards and things like that. So it's just enough to drop your essentials in there for a special event. And I also made the ruffle straps for these, and okay, get ready for cuteness, because I just think these are so cute together. If I can get it to go on there. All right, so look at how sweet that is, you guys. So the ruffle strap and then the ruffle bag, so super cute. And so with the ruffles, like I said, and it taking up so much more fabric than the garden party collection, I was only able to get 9 of these, so a limited number, but they turned out so super cute. So there are the 9, all the ruffles, so cute. And then I was able to do 4 of the ruffle straps for those, and then I also did a couple classic straps, and I haven't looked at the classic strap on there. I'm just curious what it looks like. So there is the classic strap on there, which looks so super nice as well. But look how cute these are. So like I said, anything that remains of this collection will be available on my website by the time this video goes live. But that is it. I still have all of these scraps. These are the scraps that I end up with when I cut my boxy bags out, and I also have them in the garden party fabric, and that's what I use to make my tea bag bookmarks. So if I have time before the show is, today is Monday, so I still have a few days before the show, so I still might end up putting those together so I have them at the market. Of course, I will fill you guys in with my market video and recap as to how these do at the show, garden party, and rainbow row. But yeah, so that is the Charleston collection.